Hey everybody, sometimes nature looks like it's staring right back at you. Across the planet, there are rocks and mountains that look like perfect faces. It seems like God himself has carved these natural formations to look like real things. Join me, I'm gonna count down 15 natural formations that look like faces. Starting with number 15, Turtle Rock in Mongolia. Turtle Rock is a distinctive granite rock formation located in a national park about 55 kilometers northeast of Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia's capital. The formation, also known as Milky Cod, is named for its resemblance to a giant turtle with a domed shell and an outstretched head. It rises about 24 meters high and it's one of the most recognizable landmarks within the park. The overall shape is the result of prolonged weathering and erosion of granite formed during the Paleozoic era. Over millions of years, natural forces like wind, water, and temperature extremes sculpted the granite into these rounded forms. Turtle Rock stands out among these formations due to its remarkably lifelike resemblance to a turtle, complete with a distinct head jutting forward and a rounded shell behind it. The park is part of the Khenti mountain range and it holds some cultural significance as well. Nearby sites include Buddhist temples and what's known as uvus or stone cairns used in local spiritual practices. And Turtle Rock, while primarily a geological feature, is included in cultural tours that highlights Mongolia's unique blend of natural and historic landmarks. The formation is especially popular among families and school groups, which it serves as both a scenic stop and an educational example of natural weathering. In addition to its visuals, though, Turtle Rock is a focal point for recreation. The surrounding area offers opportunities for hiking, horseback riding, and visiting nomadic herder camps that provide insights into traditional lifestyles there. The proximity to Ulaanbaatar makes it one of the most visited areas of the country, and Turtle Rock is frequently featured in promotional materials. And while it has no recorded spiritual legends like that of the Face of Harakbut, it reflects a broader Mongolian tradition of naming and revering rock formations that resemble animals or humans. This practice has reflected the strong connections between the Mongolian people and their natural landscapes, where features of the land often serve as navigational aids, cultural markers, and sources of local identity. Number 14, the Sleeping Beauty Mountain. Mount Susitna, located about 33 miles northwest of Anchorage, Alaska, is commonly referred to as the Sleeping Lady or Sleeping Beauty due to it resembling a reclining woman. It's visible across much of Anchorage, especially from a coastal trail and other viewpoints. At 4,300 feet high, this mountain stands out predominantly against the surrounding landscape. Now, geologically, Mount Susitna is a roche moutonné, a landform shaped by glaciers during the Pleistocene epoch. As ice sheets moved over the resistant bedrock, they carved and smoothed the mountain into its current elongated shape. Now, this process dates back roughly 2 to 6 million years, making the formation much older than Anchorage itself. The Dena'ina people, an Athabascan group indigenous to the area, call the mountain Gelishla, meaning Little Mountain. They've long associated it with local legends, including the one about a giant woman who lay down to rest while waiting for her lost love to return from battle, eventually becoming the mountain itself. This legend was first written down in the 20th century and has since been retold in books and cultural events, which reinforces the formation's place in Alaskan folklore. The mountain is often misidentified online due to digitally altered images that have circulated in recent years, particularly an artwork showing an exaggerated human-like figure lying in snow. The real Sleeping Lady is less pronounced than those images, but it's still striking when seen in proper light conditions, especially at sunrise or sunset, when the shadows emphasize the face and the body. While the mountain is a prominent visual landmark, it is relatively remote and less visited compared to other Alaskan peaks. This isolation has helped preserve the mountain's natural state, making it appear almost untouched despite being visible from the largest city in Alaska. Number 13, Lion's Head Rock, Hong Kong. Lion Rock, also called Lion's Head Rock, is one of Hong Kong's most recognizable landmarks, named for its resemblance to a crouching lion. It's located in Kowloon, a former part of the larger Lion Rock Country Park. The formation's visible from many parts of the city, and its silhouette has become a cultural symbol. Geologically, it's composed of volcanic tuff, that's a hardened rock formed from compacted volcanic ash during the Jurassic period about 140 million years ago. Over millions of years, weathering and erosion sculpted the ridgeline into its current profile. The Lion's Head portion of the ridge, about 495 meters above sea level, forms a clear outline when viewed from the south, particularly from areas like Kowloon Tong or Wang Tai Sin. From this angle, the lion's forehead, mane, and snout are distinctly visible. During the 1970s, a popular television drama titled Below the Lion Rock portrayed struggles and perseverance of ordinary people living in Kowloon's crowded estates. The title and imagery of the rock became a metaphor for the community's determination and unity, especially during times of social and economic hardship. The phrase Lion Rock Spirit remains a well-known term to describe Hong Kongers' resilience. The hike to it is moderately challenging, taking about 2 to 3 hours to complete, and it offers amazing views of Kowloon, Victoria Harbor, and Hong Kong Island. The summit is part of a trail, a long-distance footpath that travels to the New Territories. The path to Lion Rock includes steep stone steps and exposed ridgelines, making it scenic and pretty physically demanding. Conservation efforts have been preserving this green space among Hong Kong's dense development, allowing both locals and tourists to experience a natural landscape that contrasts sharply with the nearby buildings. Its symbolic importance has made it a site for public demonstrations and cultural expression. In recent decades, large banners have been occasionally unfurled from the rock during social movements, leveraging the iconic status and visibility across the city. While authorities generally discourage actions like this due to safety and environmental concerns, these incidents highlight the rock's enduring role as more than just a formation. It's a cultural marker that's embedded in the identity of Hong Kong. Number 12. The Horsehead Rock, Australia. Horsehead Rock is a natural sea arch located on the Sapphire Coast of New South Wales in Australia. It's one of the most photographed landmarks due to its distinctive shape, which closely resembles a horse's head dipping towards the ocean. The resemblance is especially clear when viewed from the coast walking track that connects Camel Rock to Marunna Point. This formation is geologically significant since it's composed of 500-million-year-old rock, among the oldest in New South Wales. Its origins trace back to the Cambrian period. That's when undersea volcanic activity was producing layers of chert and other sedimentary materials on the ocean floor. Over hundreds of millions of years, these tectonic forces uplifted the layers and tilted them vertically. Subsequent erosion by waves and wind carved the softer materials away, leaving behind the arch that forms the horse's distinctive head and neck. Horsehead Rock lies adjacent to Camel Rock, another notable formation, and both are part of the same ancient system known as the Narooma Terrane. This terrain was once an oceanic plate that collided with the Australian continent about 400 million years ago. Access to the rock is limited due to the position and intertidal zone. Visitors can view the rock formation from nearby lookouts along the headland or from the beach at low tide. Walking directly to the rock requires caution. The path involves uneven terrain, and it's only safe when the tide is out. The rock is an important site for local Aboriginal communities too, particularly the Yuin people who have inhabited the Sapphire Coast for thousands of years. While much of that cultural significance isn't widely publicized, the broader coastline is known for its rich indigenous heritage. Today, Horsehead Rock is a key attraction along the coast. It's featured on local walking trails, photography tours, and geological field studies. For both geologists and the casual visitors, the rock provides a vivid example of how time, tectonics, and erosion can transform ordinary rock into a landmass that resembles a living creature. Number 11. Monkey Face, Smith Rock. Monkey Face is a 350-foot tall rock spire located in Smith Rock State Park in Oregon, and it's widely regarded as one of the most distinctive landmarks in the U.S. And its name comes from the unmistakable resemblance to the face of a monkey, complete with the protruding forehead, nose, and mouth when viewed from the right angle. The formation is a volcanic tuft spire. It's part of the Crooked River caldera system. It represents the remains of massive volcanic activity that happened roughly 30 million years ago. The monkey face is separated from the main cliff wall, which gives it a freestanding appearance that enhances that resemblance to a head that's emerging from the ground. The formation's narrow neck and bulbous head make it an iconic subject for photographers too. Monkey Face was known for its challenging climbing routes, including Just Do It, a 5.14C rated sport climb that was once considered among the hardest in North America. The spire has the famous West Face route, a multi-pitch climb that includes an exposed bolt ladder leading to the monkey's mouth, a small cave located within the head portion of the formation. The rock itself is composed of volcanic tuff, which is consolidated ash from explosive volcanic eruptions. This unique shape of the spire, narrow at the base and wider at the top, is a result of differential weathering on this rock, where variations in hardness create unusual profiles. Smith Rock State Park is often considered the birthplace of modern sport climbing in the U.S., and Monkey Face has been central to that legacy. Climbers from around the world travel to the park to attempt routes on the spire, which range in difficulty and style from aid climbing to free climbing. In addition to its climbing legacy, Monkey Face is a prominent feature for hikers too, following the Misery Ridge Trail, one of the park's most popular routes. The spire is home to nesting birds of prey, including falcons, and climbing restrictions, of course, are occasionally imposed during nesting season to protect them. Monkey Face remains a prime example of how volcanic landscapes can create whimsical, anthropomorphic shapes. The combination of history, outdoor recreation, and visual distinctiveness ensures its status as one of Oregon's most famous natural landmarks. Number 10. The Old Man of the Mountain, New Hampshire. Oh, this is a sad one. The Old Man of the Mountain was one of the most famous natural rock profiles in the United States, known for its resemblance to a human face. It was located in Franconia Notch, a mountain pass within the White Mountains of New Hampshire. It was composed of 5 granite ledges on the side of Cannon Mountain that, when viewed from the north, aligned perfectly to depict the forehead, nose, lips, and chin of an old man. This profile was first documented by surveyors in 1805, though it had been seen likely by indigenous peoples long before that. Over the next 2 centuries, it became a powerful cultural symbol for New Hampshire, appearing on highway signs, license plates, state documents, and the New Hampshire Quarter, issued in 2000. Geologically, it was formed from Conway granite, estimated to be around 200 million years old, and it emerged through natural processes involving glacial activity and erosion. Its appearance depended on a very specific viewing angle. From other positions, the rock formation looked like a normal cliff face without any facial features. The formation's stability has been a concern for decades. By the 1920s, engineers had begun monitoring the ledges and installing chains, spikes, and later epoxy to secure the rock and slow down erosion. Despite these efforts, the natural forces of weathering continued to weaken the structure. On May 3, 2003, the Old Man in the Mountain collapsed, likely during a freeze-thaw event, and the profile fell into the valley below. The loss was widely mourned in New Hampshire, where the formation had become an unofficial state icon and a key tourist attraction. Even without the physical profile, though, the site itself continues to draw visitors interested in the history and symbolism. The Old Man of the Mountain represents both the power and impermanence of natural landmarks. It remains a lesson on how cultural identity can be tied to geology, and how landscapes that seem eternal are still subject to change over time. Number 9. The 7 Giants, Russia. The 7 Giants, also known as the Manpopuna Rock Formations or the 7 Strong Men, are towering stone pillars located on Manpupu-Nior Plateau in the Komi Republic of Russia. Rising between 98 and 138 feet high, these monoliths stand isolated on a remote plateau west of the Ural Mountains. These formations are made of quartzite schist. That's a very hard metamorphic rock that's resisted erosion. The surrounding softer rock did erode away due to wind, rain, and ice, leaving behind these freestanding pillars. Now, their bizarre formations are the result of uneven weathering. Some appear slender and column-like, while others are broader with protruding heads or shoulders, sparking comparisons to giant humanoid silhouettes. Local legends describe the 7 Giants as former Samoyed warriors who were turned to stone by a powerful shaman after attempting to invade the Mansi people's land. The myth explains the isolated upright posture of the pillars, portraying them as frozen invaders standing in eternal watch over the plateau. Because of its protected status and extreme isolation, the site is pretty difficult to reach. Visitors typically access it through multi-day treks or by helicopter. And modern recognition of the 7 Giants has grown, with the formations often listed among the 7 Wonders of Russia. In 2013, a professional climber completed the first ascent of one of the pillars during an expedition sponsored by Red Bull, further cementing their reputation as a geological landmark. Their location and appearance combine geological wonder and cultural legend, and it shows how natural forces can create features so distinctive they become embedded in human storytelling. Number 8. Elephant Rock, Nevada. Elephant Rock, it's a distinctive natural formation located within the Valley of Fire State Park in Nevada in the United States. It's known for its vivid red sandstone landscapes there. It's home to numerous unusual rock formations, but Elephant Rock stands out due to its clear resemblance to an elephant with its trunk lowered to the ground. It's composed primarily of sandstone, which originated as sand dunes during the Jurassic period about 150 million years ago. Over geological time, these sand dunes were buried, compressed, and lithified into rock. In Elephant Rock's case, the body and the head are part of a small natural arch, with the trunk forming a downward curving extension that touches the ground. The Valley of Fire is Nevada's oldest and largest state park, and it covers more than 46,000 acres. Elephant Rock's colorations shift throughout the day there when the early morning light accentuates its textures and shape. Unlike many formations that require a hike to reach, this one's easily accessible, sitting just a short walk from a nearby parking area. Visitors to Elephant Rock often combine the stop with other highlights in the Valley of Fire, like the Fire Wave, Atlatl Rock, known for its petroglyphs, and the Beehive formations. The park's about 50 miles north of Las Vegas, so it's a popular day trip for tourists and locals. While the formation itself wasn't carved or modified by humans, it did likely serve as a recognizable landmark for indigenous peoples navigating the region's terrain. It exemplifies how natural erosion can create recognizable animal-like shapes without human intervention. The striking silhouette makes it a favorite subject for photographers too, and it's a key symbol of the Valley of Fire's unique landscape. Moving on to number 7, the Face of Harakbut in Peru. The Face of Harakbut is a massive natural rock formation located in Peru's Madre de Dios region in the Amazon rainforest. The formation, which appears like a giant human face with clearly defined features like a forehead, nose, and mouth, has become one of the most visually striking natural landmarks in the area. Now, geologically, the face part is carved into sandstone and has been shaped over millions of years by wind and rain. It's located deep within the rainforest and means it's remained largely unknown to the outside world. The contours of the rock create the illusion of human features when viewed from certain angles, with the nose and brow ridge being especially prominent. The size of this thing is pretty big. It measures several meters high and it stands isolated in a dense jungle. For the Harakbut people, this rock is not just a curiosity, but it's a sacred site. It's referred to locally as the Rastro Harakbut, and it's tied to ancestral stories and their cultural identity. This significance has been crucial in conservation efforts, as the Amarakari Communal Reserve was established to protect both the environment and the indigenous heritage of the Harakbut. The reserve itself is over 100,000 acres of tropical forest, and it's home to some exceptional biodiversity including jaguars, giant otters, and numerous bird species. The presence of this culturally significant formation, like the face, has strengthened arguments for indigenous-led conservation. Access to the face is pretty challenging. It's deep within a protected rainforest, and you can only reach it through guided expeditions. This remoteness has helped preserve it from damage, but it also means that few visitors outside of scientific groups have seen it in person. In recent years, it's gained some attention as part of a broader debate about natural formations and human perception. While geologists emphasize the random process behind its creation, anthropologists highlight how indigenous narratives give these features enduring meaning. So the face stands at the intersection of natural history and a living tradition. It's a geological formation shaped by erosion, yet endowed with symbolic significance by the people who have lived alongside it for generations. Number 6. The Old Man of Hoy, Scotland. The Old Man of Hoy. It's a recognizable natural sea stack, and it stands as a solitary sandstone pillar off the coast of Hoy, one of the main islands in the Orkney archipelago in northern Scotland. It stands about 450 feet above the North Atlantic, and it's among the tallest sea stacks in the United Kingdom. It owes its existence to a combination of geological process and relentless erosion which have sculpted the Orkney's coastline over millions of years. Now, the Orkneys are primarily composed of old red sandstone, a sedimentary rock formed during the Devonian period about 400 million years ago. At that time, this part of Scotland lay near the equator, and it was dominated by a huge inland lake system. As tectonic forces raised and folded the land, the coastline began to take shape. In the case of Hoy, vertical features within the sandstone created weakness that would eventually be exploited by the Atlantic Ocean. But interestingly, the Old Man of Hoy is considered geologically young. Historical records suggest that the stack didn't exist in its current form until a few hundred years ago. A map produced by a Dutch cartographer in 1600 doesn't show the sea stack, indicating that it didn't either exist yet or had not been recognized as a landmark. Drawings from this period depict the old man with two legs forming an arch-like structure. At some point in the 19th century, part of this connecting rock collapsed during a storm, leaving behind a single slender pillar that stands today. Beyond the geology of it, it is steeped in cultural history. Its human-like form has inspired local folklore, though specific legends about it are sparse compared to other Scottish landmarks. The name itself likely derives from its resemblance to a stooped figure gazing out to sea. It is a striking example of pareidolia, the human tendency to see familiar shapes in natural features. This same quality has made it a favorite subject for artists and photographers, and most famously climbers. In 1966, a trio of British mountaineers, Chris Bonington, Rusty Bailey, and Tom Patty, completed the first televised ascent of the stack. The climb, broadcast live by the BBC, was a groundbreaking event that introduced the drama of rock climbing and cemented the old man's status as an icon of adventure. For the rest of us non-climbers, though, the best way to experience the Old Man of Hoy is through the clifftop hiking trail that begins at Rackwick Bay. This trail's roughly 6 miles round trip, and it passes through the moorland before arriving at a viewpoint directly opposite the stack. The landscape along the way was quintessentially Orkney, rolling hills covered in heather, seabirds circling overhead, and the distant sound of waves. The hike is relatively moderate but exposed to the elements, so pack your gear. While the Old Man of Hoy seems timeless, it's ultimately a temporary feature. All sea stacks are transitional landforms, destined to collapse as erosion continues. When that collapse eventually happens, it will mark the end of a natural monument that's existed only for a fraction of Orkney's long history. But in the meantime, it remains a compelling reminder of nature's ability to sculpt familiar shapes from stone, and of humanity's instinct to assign meaning to them. Number 5. Elephant's Head Rock, Saudi Arabia. Elephant's Head Rock, also known as Jabal al-Fil, is one of the most iconic landmarks in Saudi Arabia. It rises from the floor of the desert like a stone elephant colossus. The formation is instantly recognizable for its profile, complete with a massive body and an elongated trunk. Unlike many natural features that require a little bit of imagination to discern familiar shapes, this one is strikingly literal in its resemblance, making it a focal point for local residents and international visitors. Now, the rock is composed of sandstone, reddish-brown, part of a geologic sequence dating back over 500 million years back to the Cambrian period. Now, at that time, what is now the Arabian Peninsula was covered by sea, where the layers of sand accumulated and were later cemented into this stone. In case of the Elephant Head Rock, the differential erosion played a key role. Softer layers wore away faster, left behind more resistant mass that today forms the elephant's trunk and body. It's located a short drive from the city of Al Ula, making it easily accessible compared to some more remote formations. Visitors often view the rock at sunrise or sunset when the low-angle sunlight casts deep shadows that enhance the contour of the trunk and head, which heightens its resemblance to a living animal. Culturally, though, it's part of a landscape that's steeped in human history. Al Ula has been a crossroads of civilizations for thousands of years. The region's most famous archaeological site, Hegra, also known as Madain Saleh, is nearby and contains more than 100 monumental tombs that were carved into sandstone by the Nabateans. Now, while the Elephant Head Rock is showing no signs of human modification, it does form part of a broader heritage that blends natural and cultural wonders of this part of Saudi Arabia. The site is easily accessible by road, with designated parking areas and viewing areas that allow visitors to appreciate the formation without disturbing the desert. Nighttime events sometimes feature subtle lighting installations too that help highlight the rock's contours, creating a dramatic and memorable scene. The popularity of it reveals humanity's universal tendency to find familiar shapes in natural things. This phenomenon is pareidolia that explains why the people around the world name features after animals or faces they resemble. What sets this one apart, though, is the clarity of the likeness. Almost anyone seeing it for the first time immediately recognizes the elephant without any prompting. But despite its popularity, it remains vulnerable to the same forces that created it. The surrounding desert is home to hardy plant species too, and animals like desert foxes and lizards, all adapted to these harsh conditions. Protecting these systems is a growing priority as tourism expands here. As visitors stand before this massive sandstone elephant, they're witnessing not just a natural wonder, but a chapter in an ongoing story, one that links ancient seas, desert winds, and the timeless human habit of finding meaning in stone. Number 4. Dragon's Head Rock, Jeju Island in South Korea. Dragon's Head Rock, known locally as Yangdwam Rock, is one of the most famous landmarks on Jeju Island in South Korea. Situated along the island's northern coastline near Jeju City, the rock owes its name to a striking resemblance to the head of a dragon rising out from the sea, mouth agape as it's about to breathe fire. This likeness is visible from multiple angles, and the formation has inspired centuries of folklore. Unlike many rock formations that require imagination, this one to a dragon is immediately apparent, which explains its enduring appeal. The entire island is primarily composed of basalt and volcanic tuff, and features like Yangdwam rock are sculpted into it by a combination of lava flows and relentless coastal erosion. It's believed to have been formed around 800,000 years ago during one of the Halasan's eruptions, when molten lava flowed into the sea and cooled rapidly upon contact with the water. The resulting rock was shaped by wave action, which gradually carved the dragon-like profile. The neck of the dragon extends into the shoreline, and that forms part of the coastal basalt outcrop. The effect is dramatic at high tide when waves crash against the rock, and during sunrise or sunset when the shadows accentuate the contours. Its appearance changes subtly depending on the viewing angle and lighting conditions, and that's a quality that adds to its allure for photographers. But beyond the geologic interest, it occupies a significant place in their culture. Local legends tell of a dragon that stole precious jade from Badlands Guardian spirits and attempted to escape into the sea. As punishment, the mountain deity struck the dragon down, petrifying it as it plunged into the water. The head remained above the waves, forming the rock we see today. This legend has become deeply intertwined with Jeju's identity, appearing in local art, souvenirs, and tourism literature. The island itself is designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and visitors here can often observe Hanyo at work nearby, their presence linking the rock's mythic associations with a living cultural tradition that's persisted for centuries. The whole area serves as more than just a sightseeing destination. It's a focal point for local festivals and cultural events. The formation's popularity does present challenges in terms of conservation and visitor management, though. Erosion continues to shape the rock, and the surrounding shoreline is subject to a litter and foot traffic problem, prompting local authorities to implement measures like designated walkways. Dragon's Head Rock. It encapsulates much of what makes Jeju unique: the island's volcanic origins, its blend of myth and geology, its seamless integration of nature and culture. Standing before the formation, it's easy to understand why generations of people and visitors have seen the visage of a dragon, a creature deeply rooted in East Asian symbolism. Yangdwam serves as a reminder of how humans interpret and find meaning in the natural landscape, transforming random shapes into stories that endure. Number 3. The Stone Faces of Banyanol, Kazakhstan. The Stone Faces of Banyanol. They're a collection of weathered granite formations located in Banyanol National Park in the Pavlodar region of Kazakhstan. This park, established in 1985, was considered the country's first national park, and it encompasses an area of about 680 square kilometers. Within this expanse of steppe and forested hills, massive boulders and outcrops have been sculpted by the wind, leading locals to refer to them as the stone spirits of Banyanol. These formations are not only geologic curiosities, but they're also cultural touchstones associated with local legends and traditional Kazakh beliefs. The park's granite rocks date back to the Paleozoic era, around 300 million years ago, when volcanic and tectonic activity formed these massive batholiths that later cooled and solidified. The faces and figures are the result of spheroidal weathering, where layers of rock peel away in concentric shells, combined with selective erosion that accentuates natural cracks. For the people of Kazakhstan, it's long been a place of cultural significance. Before the establishment of the national park, the area was home to the nomadic Kazakh tribes, who revered certain rock formations as sacred. Some stories link specific formations to historical figures or mythic heroes, turning the landscape into kind of an open-air chronicle of the region's past. Even today, visitors sometimes leave small offerings at the base of certain rocks. It's a continuation of traditional practices. Tourism here has grown steadily in recent decades, particularly among domestic travelers seeking respite from the surrounding areas. The stone faces are accessible through a network of trails that lead through the forested valleys and along rocky ridges. Local guides often incorporate storytelling into their tours, recounting legends associated with each rock and explaining the process that shaped them. The nearest major city, Pavlodar, lies about 200 kilometers away, and reaching the park requires a combination of road travel and, for some visitors, train connections from larger hubs like Astana. That isolation has helped preserve the park's landscape and culture, though infrastructure improvements in recent years have made access far easier. Conservation efforts within the park aim to balance tourism with the protection of its fragile ecosystem, and geological heritage erosion, though, continues to shape the stone faces. And while this is a natural process, Human activity, like climbing on the formations or carving graffiti, poses additional risk. Park authorities have designated certain areas as off-limits to climbing and have installed signage to educate visitors about the importance of preserving these formations. As Kazakhstan continues to develop its tourism industry, places like Banyanol highlight the country's rich but underappreciated natural heritage. These stone faces, though less globally known than carved things like the Easter Island Moai or Mount Rushmore, are equally compelling. They invite questions about time, perception, and the dialogue between people and the landscape. In Banyanol, these silent granite sentinels will continue to watch over the hills and lakes for millennia, their features slowly changing with each passing season, yet remaining recognizable to anyone who looks up and sees a face in the stone. Number 2. The Face on Mars. I mean, come on, you knew we had to talk about this one. In 1976, NASA's Viking 1 orbiter captured a black and white photograph of the Martian surface in a region known as Cydonia. Among the many mesas and buttes scattered across the landscape, one in particular stood out, a broad hill whose shadows, at that specific angle of illumination, created the uncanny illusion of a humanoid face staring skyward. The image, labeled 035A72, showed what appeared to be eyes, a nose, and a mouth, features so clear they immediately sparked intrigue. What might have otherwise been cataloged as a routine geological formation became, overnight, one of the most famous images ever taken of another planet. Dubbed the Face on Mars, it ignited decades of speculation, fueled countless books and documentaries, and became a cultural phenomenon. Yet behind this mythology lies a story rooted in planetary science, imaging technology, and the human tendency to find meaning in random patterns. The Cydonia region, located between Mars's heavily cratered southern highlands and the smoother northern lowlands, is geologically transitional. This terrain is characterized by mesas, ridges, and eroded hills that are remnants of ancient sedimentary deposits. When Viking 1 flew over this area, it was conducting a global mapping mission, systematically photographing the surface to support future landing site selections. The image of the so-called face was captured on July 25, 1976, during Orbit 35 of the mission. At the time, the photograph drew little comment within NASA itself. Mission scientists recognized immediately that the appearance of a face was the result of low sun angles casting shadows. But when the image was released to the public, it took on a life of its own. Part of that fascination came from the timing. The late 1970s was a period of heightened public interest in space exploration, with the Apollo program fresh in memory and planetary missions delivering unprecedented views of other worlds. The notion that Mars might once have harbored life, fueled by earlier telescopic observations of so-called canals and speculation by astronomers like Percival Lowell, still lingered in the public imagination. Against this backdrop, an image that appeared to show an enormous face staring up from the Martian desert was irresistible. The photograph was featured in press briefings and even used by NASA's Public Affairs Office to engage public interest, though scientists repeatedly emphasized its natural origin. Nevertheless, once the idea of a face entered popular culture, it proved difficult to dispel. In the years that followed, the face on Mars became a focal point. Authors like Richard C. Hoagland argued that the formation, along with nearby features nicknamed the City, the Fort, and the Pyramids, were artificial structures built by ancient Martian races. These claims were based largely on interpretations of Viking imagery, which had a resolution of about 250 meters per pixel. That's way too coarse to reveal any fine detail. Proponents of the artificial hypothesis pointed to apparent geometric alignments and claimed mathematical relationships between the formations. Critics, including planetary geologists, countered that these arguments relied on selective interpretation and ignored the region's broader context, where numerous mesas of similar size and shape appear without any pattern of artificial design. The scientific community's response was cautious but firm. Planetary geologists emphasized that Cydonia's features were consistent with landforms seen elsewhere on Mars, shaped by wind, frost, and ancient water flow. The Face Mesa, in particular, is about 2 kilometers long and it rises several hundred meters above the surrounding plains. Humans, of course, are especially prone to seeing faces, a trait thought to have evolutionary advantages for social recognition and survival. The face on Mars was, in effect, a textbook example of pareidolia on a planetary scale. Well, despite any scientific explanations, the public fascination persisted, and the face on Mars entered the realm of pop culture. It appeared on TV shows, films, and video games, from The X-Files to Futurama. The image was used on book covers and in documentaries that speculated about Martian civilizations and government cover-ups. For many, the face became a symbol of cosmic mystery and the tantalizing possibility that humans were not alone in the universe. NASA, aware of ongoing speculation, sought opportunities to revisit the site with better technology. That opportunity came 2 decades later. In 1998, the Mars Global Surveyor, equipped with a camera capable of resolutions as fine as 1.5 meters per pixel, passed over Cydonia and captured new images of the face mesa. The resulting photographs revealed the feature in detail. Instead of eyes and a mouth, the hill displayed smooth slopes and ridges typical of natural mesas. The facial features seen in the Viking image vanished under higher resolution, replaced by clear evidence of erosion and sedimentary layering. The release of these high-resolution images didn't entirely quell the public intrigue. While many accepted the conclusion, a subset of enthusiasts remained convinced that the original Viking image revealed something significant. This tension between scientific consensus and fringe belief became emblematic of broader debates about evidence, perception, and trust in institutions. Today, high-resolution images of the face on Mars are readily available to the public, and the formation is widely recognized as a natural mesa. Yet the original Viking image retains that iconic status. It's a reminder of a moment when a grainy photograph captured the world's imagination and provoked enduring questions about our place in the cosmos. It's an example to the fact that even as technology advances, human perception remains shaped by deep-seated cognitive patterns honed over millennia. For scientists, it's a fascinating case in planetary geology and public perception. For the public, it's an enduring symbol of a mystery, a face staring back at us from another world, inviting us to look closer, to question, and to continue the search for meaning among the stars. Number 1. The Badlands Guardian, Alberta, Canada. Southern Alberta, Canada, an extraordinary figure is hidden in the contours of the Earth, invisible from the ground, yet astonishingly clear from the air. It's known as the Badlands Guardian. This natural formation resembles a human head wearing a traditional indigenous headdress. The figure seems to gaze stoically westward, with a prominent forehead, nose, lips, and chin all rendered in the Earth's undulating layers. From above, the resemblance is uncanny, an immense geoglyph carved not by human design, but by the slow and patient process of wind, water, and time. Now, the Guardian is located near the town of Medicine Hat, in the southeast corner of Alberta. This region is part of Canada's Badlands. That's an area characterized by deeply eroded hills, buttes, and gullies formed in sedimentary rock. Over millions of years, the forces of erosion have sculpted this landscape of sharp ridges, hoodoos, and gullies. It's a place where exposed rock strata tell the story of ancient inland seas and dinosaurs. But amid this intricate terrain, the Badlands Guardian emerged as an example of natural pareidolia, its human-like visage taking shape without any human intervention. Now, what makes it remarkable is that the full form is only visible from aerial perspectives. On the ground, the gullies and ridges that compose its features appear unremarkable. It was only with the advent of satellite imagery and digital mapping that this figure came to wider attention. In 2006, an Australian browsing Google Earth noticed the remarkable profile near Medicine Hat and shared the discovery online. The image quickly went viral, captivating viewers with its resemblance to a giant face adorned with a traditional feathered headdress. The formation's size is pretty big. The head itself measures hundreds of meters across, and it dwarfs any human-made sculptures. The profile includes a clearly defined brow, nose, lips, and chin, with the gullies forming feather-like patterns radiating from the crown. A modern road cuts across the neck of the figure, appearing almost like a pair of earbuds dangling from the head, an accidental and ironic detail that adds to the Guardian's quality. This road, known as Range Road 221, is simply part of the local infrastructure, and it was never intended to align with the figure's features. Yet in aerial images, it looks uncannily like a wire trailing from the head. The headdress evokes traditional Plains First Nations regalia, particularly the feathered war bonnets historically worn by Blackfoot and Cree leaders. These headdresses are highly symbolic and earned through acts of honor. They're associated with leadership and spiritual authority. While there's no evidence of intentional creation, the formation is entirely natural. The presence on traditional Blackfoot lands has prompted reflection on that relationship between landscape and culture in the Canadian prairies. The rock layers here in this part of Alberta are composed mainly of clay-rich shales interbedded with harder sandstones and siltstones. During rainfall, the softer shales erode quickly, forming deep channels and gullies, while the more resistant layers create ridges and overhangs. The symmetry of the figure's profile is coincidental but striking. It shows how natural forces can at times mimic human artistic forms. The discovery of the Badlands Guardian coincided with the rise of digital mapping tools like Google Earth, which democratized access to satellite imagery. For centuries, these formations would have remained local curiosities visible only to those who traversed the landscape in person. But with global satellite coverage available at the click of a button, hidden wonders of geography could suddenly be revealed to anyone with an internet connection. The Guardian became one of the most famous early examples of Google Earth discoveries, joining a list that includes shipwrecks, desert geoglyphs, and unusual crop formations that captured our collective imagination.